Magellan Player of the Year, Chicago Sky. So she was named the Player of the Year right here for the Chicago Sky, right? 15 times Chicago Sky Player of the Game. All right, 6 times Chicago Sky Player of the Week. 2-time Chicago Sky
Hold up. Let me break this down for you, because what happened with the Chicago Sky's Player of the Year award just exposed everything that's wrong with how we talk about professional basketball these days. We're talking about 40 games played versus 30 games played, and that single statistic right there just absolutely detonated and caused a complete civil war in the Chicago Sky fan base. Because when the Sky made the decision to name Camila Cardoso their team's Player of the Year over Angel Reese fans didn't just disagree, they completely lost their minds. I'm talking about fans making straight-up demands for trades, throwing around accusations of blatant disrespect, and supporters literally threatening to make their anger known at Wintrust Arena over a team award. For a 10-win season, let that sink in for a moment. So let's talk about what's really happening here. Because this isn't just about one award or one season. This is about availability versus talent, injury questions that nobody wants to address directly, and a front office that might be sending a very deliberate message about who they're actually building this franchise around moving forward.
Last year on the Chicago Sky, of course, we had Angel Reese that, I'll be the first to tell you, Angel Reese had an improved season. She went on a run there for maybe about 15 games where she showed signs of actually shooting much better from the field. She raised her field goal percentage a lot from her rookie year. I always want to be fair on the channel, right?
Here's what we know about Angel Reese's 2024 season, and I want to be completely fair about this. Yes, she absolutely improved her field goal percentage significantly from her rookie year, which was genuinely impressive to watch unfold. There was this 15-game stretch where she genuinely looked like she'd figured something out offensively, like the game was starting to slow down for her in ways that showed real growth. That's completely fair to acknowledge and give her credit for. But here's the other side of that coin. She also played in only 30 games before going down with a wrist injury in September, missing the final stretch of the season. Meanwhile, Cardoso played all 40 games without missing a single contest. She averaged 9.7 points and 7.9 rebounds, while shooting an efficient 52.8% from the field, and earned Player of the Game honors 15 different times throughout the season. The numbers tell a pretty clear story about consistency and availability, but the reaction to those numbers, man, that tells an even bigger and more revealing story about where this fan base's priorities actually are.
Well, Rhodes, are you saying that Angel wasn't hurt? No. I'm just saying maybe they gave it the fuzzy eyeball just a little bit, in light of the fact that the team was bad, second year in a row, precedent from the rookie year, and unrivaled of just stopping, not playing anymore. And then it happens yet again.
Let's dive into the actual social media response, because this is where it gets really revealing about the mindset we're dealing with here. One fan wrote, and I quote, "Stop acting like y'all didn't give it to her. We saw the stats at the middle and end of the season. Translation: Angels fans believe the award was straight up stolen from their player, despite the numbers clearly showing otherwise." Another comment that really caught my attention: "I hate you guys. We will make it known at Wintrust." That's not just disappointment. That's a direct threat to disrupt home games and create problems for the organization over a Player of the Year award for a team that won 10 games total. But here's the question that nobody's asking, and it's a big one. If Angel Reese fans are this upset and this passionate about Cardoso winning the award, why weren't they filling Wintrust Arena during the actual season when it mattered? The Sky averaged something like 1,500 fans per game unless Caitlin Clark was in town bringing her massive following. Where was this passionate ride-or-die fan base when the team actually needed butts in seats and support in the stands?
Oh, but it didn't stop there. I hate you guys. We will make it known at Wintrust. Will you? Because you don't even sell it out for Angel. Question mark. You don't. I mean, you're 1,000 and 1,500 fans light every night of selling that place out. Unless Caitlin's around. Woo! I mean, honestly, still shitting on her. Chicago definitely wouldn't have won those.
Now watch the pattern that emerges when you look at these comments more closely, because it's absolutely fascinating from a psychology standpoint. Chicago definitely wouldn't have won those 10 games without her, followed by a laughing emoji. Y'all just are not a serious organization. 40 games played. That's nasty work. Notice what's happening in the language and the focus here. They're not celebrating Angel's legitimate accomplishments and improvements. They're not building her up based on what she actually did. Instead, they're tearing down Cardoso for having the audacity to be available and healthy. They're mocking the idea that playing every single game matters in professional sports. And that availability question, that's where this whole situation gets really complicated and starts to reveal deeper issues. Because this is the second consecutive year that Angel Reese has had her season end early, due to injury. First it was the ankle issue in her rookie year, and now the wrist in year 2. Add in the fact that she committed to playing in Unrivaled but then stopped playing after just a few games. And you start to see why a front office might be asking some serious questions about patterns and commitment levels.
You guys know I'm a huge Camila Cardoso fan. I do. I believe this is the player that the Sky should be building around. In a perfect world, would I love to see point guard Caitlin Clark feeding the ball in to the absolute monster that is Camila Cardoso down in the paint? Yeah, I would love to see. That's feeding families. I want to see that one day, I hope. Right? Then you've got a true Stockton and Malone kind of situation going down.
Here's what makes this award decision potentially way more significant than just a simple season recognition. The creator of this video specifically mentions that he didn't even cover the news 10 days ago when Angel announced she plans to remain with Chicago after her rocky 2024 season. His reasoning? Interest in Angel was dropping among fans and media, which is telling in itself, but then he asks the more important and pointed question that gets to the heart of this whole situation. Does she actually want to come back? Or, more critically, do the Chicago Sky actually want her back long-term? That's the real issue hiding underneath this Player of the Year controversy, and it's way bigger than any individual award. Because if you're sitting in the Sky front office looking at the full picture, you're seeing a player who threw her teammates under the bus in that Chicago Sun-Times interview that caused so much drama. A player who got suspended by the team for her comments and behavior. A player who received the cold shoulder from her own teammates after that suspension. And then a player who ended another season early with an injury while her backup played every single game. Meanwhile, Cardoso played every single contest, stayed completely out of drama and controversy, and then immediately went overseas after the season ended, dominated international competition with performances like 29 points and 9 rebounds. That showed she's ready for an even bigger role.
Having it. Gave her the cold shoulder, the Sky gave her a suspension, all of that. And I gotta be honest, I didn't do a video on that because the interest in Angel is just slowly but surely started dropping. But, you know, I wonder, does she want to, you know, she may not want to come back, or maybe she's decided I want to come back, but do the Chicago Sky actually want her back? You know, that's something that we haven't actually talked about.
Let's talk about what the Sky actually need as an organization to move forward and start winning basketball games. This video makes the point that on a legitimate championship caliber roster, Angel would probably be the 5th scoring option, not the 1st or 2nd option that she's being treated as in Chicago. And the Sky desperately needs shooting and floor spacing, which has been their biggest weakness. Cardoso gives them legitimate size at 6'7", efficiency around the basket, and consistency in the paint that you can build an offense around. She's shooting over 52% from the field, which is elite efficiency for a post player. She's a legitimate post presence who can anchor a defense and protect the rim. The creator even mentions his dream scenario for the league: point guard Caitlin Clark feeding Camila Cardoso in the paint, creating a true Stockton and Malone type situation with that kind of size differential and skill set combination. Now that's obviously not happening because Clark is locked into Indiana for the foreseeable future, but it reveals what actual basketball people see when they watch Cardoso play. A foundational piece that you can build an entire system around. The question that the Sky have to answer is whether Angel Reese fits into that foundation as a complementary piece, or whether her presence and the drama that comes with it actually disrupts what they're trying to build.
Post the stats. Again, one added 13.6 for an extra 10 games last year. By the way, at 52.8% uh, field goal percentage. Why does a hypocritical team like the Sky want Angel Reese back if they already have Cardoso to build around? Laughable. I mean, look, one could argue if they knew what they was doing.
All right, so this is where the Chicago Sky organization finds itself right now. And if you look at these next comments from fans, they reveal the fundamental disconnect between what basketball success requires and what some people think it requires. Your greatest ability is your availability. That's nasty work. That comment got absolutely ratioed by Reese fans who saw it as disrespectful and dismissive. But here's the question we need to ask. Is it disrespectful, or is it just the truth about professional sports? Because in any professional league, you simply cannot impact winning if you're not on the court contributing. Cardoso was on the court for all 40 games. Reese was on the court for... That's not a small difference. That's 25% less availability in a season where every game matters for team development. One fan wrote, "Congratulations, now demand a trade. This organization is trash." Think about that logic for a second. The Sky gave an award to the player who appeared in every single game and performed consistently. And the response from some fans is that Reese should leave because of it. Another comment, "Sky won 10 games. Y'all worried about having a player of the year." But if Angel had won this award, those same fans would be celebrating it as validation of her talent and growth. The hypocrisy is completely obvious, but underneath that hypocrisy is something more interesting and telling. These fans fundamentally don't value what Cardoso brings to the table, and they don't understand what successful basketball organizations actually prioritize. And here's where the front office calculation gets really tricky and complex. Could the Sky potentially use both players effectively if they had competent coaching and management? Maybe. And that's what makes this situation so interesting. The creator suggests that if the organization could get their heads out of their asses, they might actually be able to build around both Cardoso and Reese together successfully. A dominant post player and an elite rebounder who's improving her scoring could theoretically complement each other really well on paper. But that scenario requires both players to be available when the team needs them, to buy into their specific roles within the system, and to prioritize winning over individual recognition and media attention. And based on what we saw play out in 2024, that's a pretty big if. Reese threw teammates under the bus publicly. She got suspended for it, she ended the season early again, and now her fan base is actively attacking the player who actually showed up every single night and did her job. If you're the Sky general manager looking at this situation, what message are you sending then giving this award to Cardoso? You're saying availability matters more than potential. You're saying professionalism matters more than social media following. You're saying we notice and value the players who show up consistently, not just the ones who generate headlines. Let's step back and look at the bigger picture here, because this Camila Cardoso Player of the Year situation reveals something really important about where the Chicago Sky are as an organization and what they're dealing with in terms of fan-base dynamics and expectations. First, the basketball reality that we can't ignore. Cardoso won this award because she earned it on every single measurable level that matters for team success. 15 times Player of the Game, 6 times Player of the Week, 2 times Player of the Month. Those aren't sympathy awards or participation trophies. Those are earned through consistent performance and impact. The 40 games played, compared to Angel's 30 games, isn't a minor statistical difference that we can brush aside. That's 25% more availability in a 40-game season, and 10 games is absolutely massive when you're talking about development and team chemistry. But here's what makes Cardoso's season even more impressive when you really think about it. She did all of this as a rookie, playing for a completely dysfunctional team that won only 10 games total. She didn't have the benefit of a competent coaching staff or a functional offensive system that could maximize her talent. She just showed up every night, played her role within whatever chaos was happening, protected the rim, finished efficiently around the basket, and stayed healthy through all of it. Those are exactly the qualities you want in a foundational player that you can build a franchise around. Now let's contrast that with Angel Reese's season. And I want to be fair about both the positives and the concerns. Yes, she had that 15-game stretch where her field goal percentage improved significantly, and that represents legitimate progress that deserves recognition. She showed flashes of becoming a more complete offensive player, which is exactly what you want to see from a young player in year 2. But she also dealt with a suspension after that Chicago Sun-Times interview where she criticized her teammates publicly. She dealt with the cold shoulder from those same teammates afterward, which created obvious chemistry issues. And then the wrist injury ended her season in September with 10 games still remaining on the schedule. Now, the injury itself isn't necessarily the issue here. Injuries happen in basketball, You can't always control them, but when you combine that injury with the pattern from the previous year, with the decision to stop playing in Unrivaled after just a few games, and with all the off-court drama and controversy, you start to understand why a front office might be asking serious questions about commitment levels and availability. And those questions matter tremendously, because the Sky are at a crucial crossroads as a franchise. They've now had back-to-back terrible seasons, they fired their head coach, and they need to figure out their identity and their core moving forward. When you're in that position, you build around players who are going to be there every night, who stay out of drama and who make everyone around them better through their professionalism and consistency. That's Camila Cardoso. The question is whether Angel Reese can be that type of player too, or whether she's always going to come with complications that outweigh her production.